Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." This is the Producers Lounge podcast, the best podcast online for tips and tricks on producing great film, television, and web content. Welcome back for Season 3, Episode 8, hosted and produced by greaterandgrander.com. On this week's episode, we're chatting with Lynn Stevenson, who has produced documentaries, fiction, and a whole host of genres, including Bones, Gilmore Girls, A&E Biography, and many others. We discuss the difficulties of getting into Hollywood, using networking groups like the Producers Guild, as well as friends, to get paid work in the industry, being yourself, and the best strategies for staying in touch with colleagues. She also worked for Roger Corman, and she is spearheading a project entitled Saving Animals Fiji, an upcoming documentary to raise awareness of animal issues in Fiji and to inspire compassionate people to help dogs, cats, horses, and other animals in need across the islands. We had this conversation at a lovely outdoor cafe in West Hollywood, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Here now is my conversation with Lynn Stevenson.
Yeah, another thing I thought would be good to touch on, since I've been in the field so long, would be a little bit on basically how hard it is for people that don't have any connections coming here to get started and also move up.
Yeah.
Because that's something we don't talk about a lot, and I know that it really is important to have somebody in your corner, whether you're starting out or whatever. So that's something to kind of...
I think that's a great point, because I know going to film school, and I went to both Chapman and USC.
Yeah.
And at both of those film schools, nobody actually went through okay, here are the steps you need to take to actually have a sustainable freelance career. Nobody said to me hey, you should really plan to have 5 people who can hire you that can be consistent and go back, and that way just that's by where you can get a full year or at least 40 weeks worth of work.
Yeah, so one of the things, I definitely wanted to mention was how hard it is for people. It doesn't matter what your sex, your gender, your race, your sexual orientation, your religion is. It's hard for anybody who comes here and does not have contacts ahead of time. And that by contacts, I mean somebody that's really in a position to hire you or knows people that can hire you. So for instance, I had an old boyfriend that was at the top of his class at USC in visual effects. And he got hired at Alamo as a cameraman, and now he's the chief creative officer.
Oh, wow.
So, again, and some other people that I know that they were friends with a post-production executive. Their parents were, or they were the doctor to Roger Corman or the nanny. So whoever it is, it doesn't mean that those people don't have to work hard to keep their jobs. They can't slough off, but it means they have a leg up on all the rest of us who come and we don't know anybody.
Yeah.
So one of the things I love about the Producers Guild is that it's a great way to meet people. Even if you're starting out, it's a great way to meet people who you can become friends with, and friends are who help you. I mean, if you don't have that production executive that
right,
that can get you a job, you have friends and they can recommend you and you can recommend them.
right.
And one of the best ways of getting to know people is just to be yourself, to not try to be someone else. So if you're introverted, don't try to be all peppy and whatever. And if you're extroverted, you don't have to go overboard, but just really listen and have a conversation and be real. And that's what people resonate with,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because after the pandemic, I was definitely looking to get out and network more. And I kept seeing all of these pieces of advice popping up, when you're networking, just be a normal person. But what if you're not a normie? What if you're an eccentric goofball and you really you don't know how you really fit in? You don't follow sports, for example, or you don't follow whatever the topic of the league is. How do you make that work if you are someone that is more eccentric than most people?
Well, in all honesty, I think as long as you're real and you're going to find your people. There are so many opportunities out there, many more than when I started with all the streamers. There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
And I think you just need to find your people. And to be honest with you, I've met some quirky people, and I like them because they're real and they're nice. The other thing is you don't want to have someone that's quirky who's a jerk. You don't want to be an arrogant, I'm quirky, arrogant, and whatever. You want to, as long as you can be quirky, but also you can be nice and interested in people. And so even if someone's really different from me, I've worked with people that are very different from me and very quirky to me, but to them, that's their normal. And I like them. and I would hire them again. They do a great job, and it doesn't matter to me. So I don't care if someone's covered with tattoos, piercing, has multicolored hair. That's different than me, but if they work hard and they have a good attitude and they're nice people, come work with me.
Got it.
So
Let me ask then, as far as your own career and managing your own career strategically and getting hired repeatedly, like what kind of strategies do you use with, the production executives or the people that consistently hire you? Because I'm really interested to ask them because you have a very diverse IMDb page. You've got fiction and TV, written TV, and then also documentaries, and then a whole host of things. So how do you kind of manage that across a large swath of genres?
Well, I think one thing is, for me, I was born in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I started out working in San Francisco. And there, you could 1 minute be directing a music video, the next minute you're an assistant editor on a feature, and then you're editing a documentary, which are all things that I did within 6 months of each other. In LA, people tend to compartmentalize you. So if you are a post person, you're a post person. And in fact, I even had people tell me that at a company I worked at. I said, hey, I want to get into field producing. And they go, you're a career post person. And I said, no, I'm not. I have production experience. But they knew me as a post supervisor on some of their shows.
Right.
So there's a lot of closed-mindedness in LA that you don't find maybe in other markets. But you just kind of have to blaze your own trail.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean you're going to get every job, because I had a job that I lost out on years ago at HBO because I mentioned that, the director was directing a subject I liked. And I said, oh, I directed a short film that kind of was along those lines. Well, they didn't hire me. And the VP of Post said, next time you might not want to say that you're also a director, because it kind of was a little bit off-putting to, So nowadays I will keep a lot of my filmmaking aspirations to myself. But as far as getting jobs, I think the best thing you can do is do your best, work really hard, and also be fair to people that work with you. Like treat everybody that works under you as a person. I would never call the younger people, the post PAs, the coordinators, I never refer to them as the kids or in any way act like they're less than me.
Right.
They're as an important part of the team. And to my bosses, I'm respectful. I'm respectful to everybody.
Right.
The golden rule, and I work very hard.
Right.
And then people remember that. Like if you do that and you're nice to work with, they want both those qualities. And you're reasonable. And you also deliver, hopefully, on budget and the schedule, or have a good excuse and a sign off from the studio.
Right.
So I use that, and then I keep in touch with people. I try to go to events with the Producers Guild and also the TV Academy. I try to meet people for lunch or coffee. I, at the very least, connect with them on Facebook or LinkedIn and just say, hey, how are you doing? Like, what's up with you? Because for me, I'm always interested in what other people are doing. I'm always interested in listening. I don't need to talk the whole time about myself. I want to hear what they're up to and answer them and really listen. And I think a lot of people don't really listen. They just kind of feel like, oh my God, this is my chance. I got to let them know in 30 seconds about me and so I can get the job. But sometimes if you just listen or ask them a question, there's a bond that forms when they realize, hey, they're interested in me too. They're not just like wanting a job from me.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. No, because I think you really hit on a key thing there, because a lot of people just want to, in a conversation rather than listening to ready for their turn to talk. And it definitely applies to network, but also just any kind of interpersonal relationship in general. Okay, so let me ask you this when it comes to networking. Following up in the contacts and people who could potentially hire you, how much follow-up is too much follow-up? Because I remember when I was still in film school, people were telling me like, oh, remember birthdays and wedding anniversaries, and then send like cards to people who hired you saying happy birthday and wedding anniversary. But now looking back on it, if I send a card to somebody about their wedding anniversary, that kind of seems kind of creepy. So how much follow-up is too much?
Well, one of the great things we have now that we didn't have in the beginning of our careers was we have things like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Right.
And so what I do is every time I'm on a job and there's someone I like, really that I like, and it doesn't matter if they're above me or a subordinate, I connect with them on either LinkedIn, Facebook, or both.
Right.
And I stay in touch with them. Like, if it's their birthday, I make sure to wish them happy birthday. If I know their anniversary, like I have an old boss who I really like and became friends with, I'll say happy anniversary to her. We became friends. We had a real bond. So now, just somebody that I don't know, well, do I look up and what is their anniversary? And, unless it's on Facebook, on Facebook I'll respond. But I find that Facebook and LinkedIn are great ways to stay in contact with people, even if you don't call them.
Right.
But also the live networking events too, or parties where you can see them. But as far as how much is too much, I think most people honestly have in their mind whether they like you or not, or whether they think something is going to, come up for you. And so that's why the social media I think is important, because that way you're sort of in regular contact. You're in their feed because maybe you're liking stuff that they say, or you're responding to them.
Right.
And so something comes up and they go, oh yeah, Lynn, yeah, I've got this post-producer gig or whatever coming up. But as far as people calling, usually what I'll say to somebody if they check in with me is, if I have something, if I don't have a job for them, I'll say, well, I'm tied up, I'm on this job for the next whatever months. But why don't you check back with me in 6 months or whatever? Or if you update your resume, send me a new resume. That's always a good thing is to update your resume and send it, as you get it.
Okay.
That way, so if you're in a job and you finish it, just send them a new resume.
Okay.
And that's really not intrusive at all. Just to do that.
That's good to know.
But I'm never pushy myself because I don't want to be a pushy person.
Yeah. I find that I sometimes make that mistake of trying to be like tenacious, but then coming off as pushy without intending to.
Yeah.
So that's always a concern.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's a difference between that. Yeah, you don't want to be too tenacious. But like I said, any kind of social media stuff and that kind of stuff is not being pushy, and certainly sending an updated resume. I have several editors in particular I've worked with, they're assistant editors, that they finish a job and send me a resume, and then they're right there. And I also keep lists of people too. So people I really love working with that I have a potential to hire, I have a list. So if something comes up, I'm going, oh, I can call them and see, and I'll start going around seeing if they're available. And I also have their phone numbers and emails because I'm part of a group on Facebook for post-production executives and producers.
Oh.
And we have a private Facebook group.
Right.
If there's somebody, a lot of times someone will say, hey, I need an editor, I need a post coordinator, or a PA, or a supervisor.
Right.
If I've maybe talked to one of my friends, I will, and know they're available, I'll share their resume or their information.
Okay.
And some of them, if I don't know if they're available, I'll go check with them. Hey, are you available? There's a job, and I'll send them the information, or I'll say, hey, I've got someone for you to refer you. So I do a lot of that, more than actual phone calls or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I find that, and again, going back to like the advice that I wish somebody had given to me, like social media can be really great, but also like there is always that pressure to like be positive and impressive on social media. I still agree with you, but I think that's just important to like point out that caveat, because people can always turn around and say, go back through your posts and find something stupid you did on a drunken Saturday night.
Well, one thing we did have an issue on a show I was on. We had a really great guy, but his social media, there was something from his social media that he had in an email that was very unusual, and that email accidentally showed up on going to our executive producers, and it was a very weird, okay for a personal thing, but not for this.
Right.
And so we had to talk to him and just say, hey, be careful. We didn't fire him. He was a great guy. He was a young guy, but we just said, yeah, be careful with that email because, we don't want that going to, people, that email name. It was an accident. So yeah, I would tell anybody that, there are settings on your Facebook, and that if you're actively in the profession, what I would do is put on just for your friends. Don't put something really, you're getting drunk at a party or any of that stuff. Don't really share that. Like personally for me, I don't really care. I'm pretty fine with that. I don't mind whatever people's personal life is, as long as they do a good job with me, I don't care. Right. But there are people that do care, and they'll go, oh my gosh, what's wrong with this person, and make a judgment. So you don't know. A lot of people don't judge, but other people do. So keep that stuff private and just have a public persona.
Right.
so that you can have, old bosses and people on there for the networking stuff. And it doesn't always have to be positive, I don't care if someone's always positive. Although if they're talking about their suicide attempt, I don't know if you really want to post that wide, or that they're, their mental problems, or if anything that's super personal to you, maybe a medical problem that could affect your job. Don't, keep that with your friends and not, because some people, again, may be afraid to hire you.
Yeah. How did you end up moving up north?
Oh, well, I'm from Mill Valley, California.
Uh-huh.
And so I started my career, even though I went to UCLA, I did start working in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I lived in LA for a really long time, and during COVID, I lived in Toluca Lake, and our area got really bad with, a lot of drug people and a lot of petty criminals and a lot of problems. Yeah. And at the same time, developers bought our property where we were living, and we're going to tear it down to build condos. So at that time, I decided, with my partner, Jason, that we decided to move up to Northern California. Because my job was working from home. I work for Universal Television right now. Right. And so we decided to move to Healdsburg, which is in the Sonoma-Wine County. So everything we do is remote, which is really fantastic because we have a thing called Evercast, a software that when we're reviewing stuff with the editors, we get on Evercast and we can communicate in live time and watch the picture. And then with our post house, which is Picture Shop in Hollywood.
Oh, I know Picture Shop.
Yeah. So we've got Picture Shop. Our colorist, Joe Finley, who did Game of Thrones, he lives in North Carolina or South Carolina now. And so our dailies person lived in Hawaii, but everybody worked remotely. So we use a Clearview, which is really good. What we do is we either use a phone conference line to talk or Microsoft Teams. And then we view on Clearview, and you can get a really nice HD picture. And then I attach it to my 70-inch television and watch the session on the 70-inch television.
Nice.
And I think so everything we're doing is 100% remote. ADR, mixing with Universal Sound. They have a proprietary software we use. So I feel like I can pretty much be anywhere right now. I mean, of course, that can change. So I'm enjoying being able to hike and be in nature and all that.
Okay. That's really cool. And let me ask, do you think that this, just like from an objective standpoint, because a lot of industry positions have gone remote, not just post, but also writers' rooms, do you think that this is a temporary thing, or do you think this is a permanent shift that everyone will adapt to?
Well, that's a good question. I think with places like Universal Television and other studios where they have a tremendous amount of space, rooms that when you're on a show, they rent it out to you. You have to pay for the room through your show.
Right.
I think that the big studios or any place that has facilities is going to want to bring people back, at least part-time. A lot of jobs I know now, they've either gone fully back or they're hybrid, and they maybe go in 3 times a week. Like, I know people on staff at Universal that 3 days a week, they have to come into the office, but the other 2 days a week, they don't.
Uh-huh.
So I'm hoping it stays remote so I can stay up there or work from where I want.
Nice. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And I kind of know that position because we met at the Technicolor.
Yeah. Yes, we did. I remember that.
Yeah, and I was probably still at the managing the editorial facility at Paramount.
Yes, you were.
Yeah. So I didn't have a question with that. I was just reminiscing.
Yeah, no, I know. That's how we met. And we both were talking about directing also and filmmaking, that we were also filmmakers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let me ask, do you think, how do you feel about people making the jump from, a quote-unquote below-the-line position to, directing? Because I've known so many people in my time in the industry, myself included, who have tried making that jump to, full-time directing. And most people just, for whatever reason, can't, accomplish it. And this is not this is more just my own internal, trying to figure out my own strategy. But, I'm trying to figure out, is that something that is feasible to have one foot in both worlds? Or is it something you need to commit entirely to?
Well, I know several editors and some cinematographers who've gotten to direct.
Yeah.
And they've gotten to do both. The thing on that, though, with most of those people is they're either like the top editor on the show that they'll say, hey, unless I get to direct, I'm not going to stay here. Or they're also somebody. And that could be a friend, a lover.
Did you say somebody?
Somebody.
I love that expression.
Somebody. My partner, Jason, came up with it for me. That is the person that has a position of power that can hire you. And it can be, a lot of times people get romantically involved and it's a romantic partner, or it can be a relative, or the age I'm at, people's kids are coming in and getting the jobs. So I know somebody's kid, a director's kid, who got a job directing a network show without any other network credits. The person had been a camera person, but they got a show. I couldn't get that. So for you and me, those of us who are not connected like that, it's very, very hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a very difficult proposition. But you can do both. Once you get to direct an episode, if you are the camera person or the DP or the second unit director or the actor, the writer, or the editor, you can put it in your deal and say, hey, yeah, I'd like to do season 2, but can I have an episode to direct? Right. And then maybe the next time, maybe can I have 2 episodes? But I personally have not gotten to be at that level myself. And
nor have I.
It's hard.
Yeah. And it comes down to seniority and leverage. From what you're saying, seniority and leverage, or you got to know somebody.
Very closely know somebody, like somebody that's going to go to bat for you. And that's pretty much family or romantic or best friend in level, very high level connection.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to mention to you,
yes,
is I wanted to talk a little bit about we all come to Hollywood with a dream. And that's why we all come here. None of us come here to go be a post-producer or a camera person. We come here to be probably a director, a filmmaker, an actor, a writer. We come here with a dream, a producer.
Right.
And I think one of the things that happens a lot, it has not happened to me, but I notice a lot of people, is they give up on their dream. And so trying to find a way to balance your dream and also a career in a field, like right now I'm a career post person, right?
Right.
So whenever there's a job, I'm going to take it because you never know when you're not going to have a job.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm always thinking, of my other projects, like, my own projects. Like I have a paranormal project that I'd started, and I have an animal project I started. And one of the things I do is figure out, well, for instance, I was working on the show Love Island as post supervisor. And so I was in Fiji. So before I left for Fiji, I go, you know what? I love animals so much, and I imagine there's some issues going on in Fiji with animals, animal welfare.
Right.
So I contacted, before I left, all the animal welfare groups, and there are only 4 of them in Fiji, and I set up interviews for the week after my job ended, and I ended up extending my trip. So that after I finished Love Island, I went and started interviewing people and started doing B-roll footage for my documentary. And I did it myself. I didn't have a person to help me. And then I was invited back to go to a spay-neuter clinic. So I came back from that shoot. I took another job on the show Dare Me for Universal. And then as soon as Dare Me ended, I went back to Fiji with the spay-neuter clinic and started shooting with them. And I had some other people helping me on that one. And I still have more to shoot, but then COVID got in the way. So I made a thing happen for something that I really cared about. And I have a page on Facebook called Saving Animals Fiji. And I actually interact with the different groups, and I post information and cross-post. And when I was in Fiji, shared live updates on like the clinic so people could come and bring their animals. And then
And I want to make sure the sound caught it. You said it's Saving Animals Fiji?
Saving Animals, Fiji. It's a Facebook page.
Got it.
And so I try to connect people that write to me on there with animals. And so even though the film isn't finished, I'm using that platform to try to connect with people. And sometimes I do Facebook ads to reach groups of people in Fiji.
Oh, wow.
To try to target them. And because there's a lot of problems also in Fiji with how animals are treated. They are working on it, but problems with the stray animals, particularly stray dogs.
Right.
And there's a lot of education, which I helped with when I was in Fiji. I helped work on an educational video for them to educate people on how to treat animals. Don't throw rocks at them. Don't do this. Help feed them.
I wasn't very shocked that was something that had to be said. like to why?
Well, there's, there's two cultures in Fiji right now. There's indigenous Fijians, and they live in villages. And there are Indo-Fijians, which are the Indian descendants that were brought over as by the British to be, I think, kind of indentured servants.
Right.
So the Indians in general are really great about animals and just absolutely love animals and spoil their animals in general, not everybody.
Right.
But the Fijians, it's kind of split. A lot of them are total animal lovers, but other ones of them think of them as a pest, particularly stray animals, stray dogs and stray cats. And they will, you'll see kids throwing rocks at them or stones. You'll see dogs having sex in the street. I mean, it's a huge problem, and there's only 4 groups to address it. So I donate to all of them and try to help them as much as I can.
Got it.
So anyway, it's an issue that I'm trying to enlighten with this project.
Right. And it's really cool that you're working in this. Like, it's something that is tangible. It's something that people can get involved with who care about animal rights. But it's also really inspiring the way that you've kind of been able to find a way to split your time. If you're being, sent off to Fiji for one project, you're able to do something in Fiji on your own. And quick side tangent. The director who directed The Cell was Jennifer Lopez. I actually went to a Q&A, and he used a similar strategy where he would make pitches for commercial shoots that he yeah, and so he would go to those locations that he knew he wanted to shoot for his feature, and that way they were partially subsidized by this advertising. So
well, it's funny you should mention that, because I worked years ago for a company called Delta Entertainment. So for about 2 years I was full-time, not in post at all. I was a producer director for this company, Delta Entertainment, which is a German company. And so one of the projects that I was getting off the ground was working with, we were going to go to the Cannes market for television. And I called Champagne because someone was saying, hey, let's do something on Champagne. So I called the Champagne, whatever the group there, and they were willing to finance a film with us.
really,
Yes, they were willing to finance a lot of stuff, give us B-roll, do all this stuff. Unfortunately, that company we had a unfortunate situation with a bad CEO guy who put the company into the ground, and we all lost our jobs. But I had this all set up to go to Cannes, market our films that we had so far, and then make this Champagne documentary.
right?
So yeah, you can definitely do that. You have to be careful though, because when I talked to them, I said, well, it was actually the Champagne, it was some sort of Champagne group that oversaw all the Champagne. It wasn't one specific, because I said, yeah, we're going to want to cover different ones, and we have to balance it because it's a documentary, like between what you want us to do versus what we're going to do, because we don't want it to be this one-sided thing.
To make sure I understand, so it's a kind of a Champagne trade organization
In
France, and your company Delta wanted to do a documentary about
the history of
the
Champagne.
history of Champagne, and they were willing to finance it and give you B-roll and help you out.
Yeah, when I say finance it, we had to obviously do our own fly over there and this and that, but they were willing to give us carte blanche to go to these vineyards and to shoot.
Oh.
We had to pay for our own crew. I would have had to hire a French crew, and when I worked with them, all the crews I hired were always locals. So I would, put out ads or get recommendations and hire local people to do stuff, local camera people and sound people.
That sounds really cool. I'm sorry that the CEO kind of blundered.
It was, and then to bring you back to networking, so
Yeah.
I thought it was goodbye post-production, I'm done here. And that was not the case, because it had been a smaller company, and I had some projects I was proud of, but it didn't fit into any of the genres. It wasn't like a reality show.
Right.
And it wasn't a true documentary, any of them. There were like a lot of bios and things on old Hollywood people. So I really couldn't land another job from that job. So then I went back to post, but I had let my contacts slide and had not really stayed in touch, unless someone was a friend,
Right.
because I never thought I was going back. So what I learned is, even if I had another opportunity like that where I was doing production, I would probably stay in touch with people just to not get my finger out of the pot.
And when you say stay in touch with people, you mean send birthday emails, maybe anniversary.
Yeah.
Are there any other methods you would use to stay in touch besides the updating the resume tip that you provided?
I mean, if it's somebody that I definitely, you know, had a relationship with, you know, a good one, like a person I worked with, I would maybe call them, how are you? You know, how are you doing? Or maybe get together. Do you want to have coffee or lunch or a drink or whatever? I would do that kind of thing.
Okay. I will tell you this, what I wound up doing this was before Paramount when I was still doing a lot of freelancing. And whenever I wrapped off a job, and by the way, I didn't realize how lucky I was because I often got hired on reality show jobs and various gigs that lasted anywhere from a month to 4 months, which is more than expected because so many gigs you wind up only getting hired for like a day or a week. But after I would wrap one of those jobs, I would send out a mass email to my address at work, which was much smaller back then. And I would say like, hey, I just got off this production. I had a wonderful experience. I am willing to give a free day of labor. Just email me and let me know. And there are definitely some people who took advantage of that. But there were one or two occasions that did lead to other paid work. Not long-term paid work, but certainly short-term paid work. So...
Well, one thing, I mean, I think that's a good idea. I have people that send me target emails too, but what I would do is personalize it.
Yeah.
Dear so-and-so, because I've had times where I get from someone I don't know very well, an email saying, hey, I'm available, whatever, and here's my resume.
Yeah.
But it would be better if you put their name in it. If you have a way of saying, Dear Lynn, and maybe personalizing at the bottom, like if you guys work together, you know, I had a good experience working with you on blah, blah, or if you personalize it, take the time to personalize it, I think the response could be even better.
And
even though it's a good idea.
Okay. It's good to know.
Because sometimes if you send that email to someone that maybe doesn't remember you very well, you didn't have it's been a while, it's good to sometimes remind them who you are or your connection.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so we were talking about the dream thing is whatever it is that brought you here is try not to lose that, because so many people, I mean, when I started out and I came from the Bay Area and I had all these big aspirations and I didn't know about nepotism and I didn't know all that stuff. I just thought I'd come in and work hard and get the job. I didn't know there was more to it than that.
Yeah.
Like knowing people. But the first job I had actually in LA was working for Roger Corman, but it was because of a high school friend. One of my best friends in high school worked for them. So I got hired by Roger Corman, and I worked there for about a year, and I loved it.
Did I say I interned for Corman?
No.
Yeah. There we go.
Yay.
Thank you. Yeah.
You did?
I interned for like 3 months for him. Yeah, I wound up being like, I did some ADR, like background ADR on one of his features, and I was hoping that could come back one day and like, oh, you should let me produce or direct your low budget, whatever. But yeah, that was a trip.
Isn't it an amazing experience? Because my first job was, I was an assistant editor. And then I did additional editing, then I edited a feature.
More water. What do you need?
Oh, no, I'm fine, thanks. And I edited a feature, and then I was a trailer editor. And, you know, every time you edit something, and he wants you to do it faster next time. And every trailer, he wanted to have lots of breasts, so you'd have to go to another movie and put breasts in. And I did recuts of features. So I loved it, but it wasn't a lot of money, and I got offered a job on, I'm trying to remember which one, but I got a union job because I joined the union before I left San Francisco as an editor, and I finally got a union job, so I ended up leaving. I kind of wish I hadn't because I really wanted to direct too, you know what I mean? But it was, I don't know, there was a period of time where he was shifting from doing stuff in America and starting to go to like South America and Ireland and other places. So I don't know, when you were interning for him, like where he was doing production.
Oh, I realized just before coming here, I was like, oh man, I haven't eaten much today.
Yeah, no, just enjoy your food. I had a late brunch, so I went to Halloween Horror Nights last night, and I was there till 3 a.m.
Oh wow.
Oldest person there probably, but I had so much fun, and I just went by myself. I got the express pass so I could go to the front of the line the whole time, because usually I don't do that. I'm like in the back, and it was so much fun. So I slept in this morning because I was just like, I didn't go to bed till 4 a.m.
Nice. That sounds awesome. And what really weird was I was at Universal City Walk last night with a date.
You were?
Yeah, we went to see a movie.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, we didn't go into that. She kept like egging me, like we should go see like horror Universal back in the horror. I was like, I'm not up for it, you know?
Yeah, no, Jason, my partner, is not at all into it. He's not on this trip with me, but he's like could care less. So I thought, perfect, I'm just gonna go. I don't care if I'm going by myself. I loved it. But what were we talking about?
Corman.
Corman.
So to answer your question,
Yeah.
I interned with Corman, I think, summer of '04.
Oh, okay.
And at that point, he had one Fast and the Furious ripoff that was in LA. Everything else was international, mainly Eastern Europe or
Yeah.
Jakarta.
So those jobs, I don't think they really did editing and stuff there. Because what happened with me before I, left for I worked on Cheers for Paramount.
Right.
Is I basically got laid off because they didn't have a lot of work.
Yeah.
So while I was laid off, I was kind of hoping I'd be able to go back at some point and direct, but it turned out that more and more of his stuff was in other countries, and he was using foreign directors.
Tax credits, yeah.
Tax credits. So, it sort of, I felt kind of like it dried up. Although I talked to him years later, I really loved Roger Corman. I thought he was a really nice man, and I really appreciated all I learned from him. Roger Corman University. You were there too.
Yeah. My experience was slightly different than yours because when I interned there, they were going through a transition where that summer they laid off his entire distribution department.
Oh,
Yeah, so it just really, it was messy. Anyway.
yeah. There were a lot of. That's what I mean. There were a bunch of layoffs because they were starting to do editing in different places, and they shut down the Venice facility where we were editing. Right. Was closed.
Oh, wow.
And so was his office still in Brentwood when you were there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was still driving that old car from 1902.
Yeah, I loved him.
Yeah.
So, I wish I could have directed a movie. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. So let me ask, speaking of directing movies, what do you have like coming up that you're developing or working on or want to get off the ground that you're excited about?
That's a good question. I mean, I definitely want to finish my Saving Animals film.
Uh-huh.
And I have another documentary, a paranormal one, that I started shooting in South Carolina and in Georgia when I was working for Blizzard for a while, and we were in New York. And again, I decided, where can I go after we're finished doing this project? And I went and started shooting a paranormal thing. I want to finish that. I have a couple of ideas, script writing ideas that I have. I'd really like to direct a feature finally. So I'm trying to turn one of my ideas into a feature that I can direct independently. That's not going to, be super expensive. So I think that's the next step for me, because I know somebody's not just going to say, here, direct this. I'm going to need to write it and start it on my own. So what do you prefer, Tucci or Richard?
I prefer Tucci.
You do? Well, then I'm going to call you Tucci.
Sounds good.
I wasn't sure. I've heard people call you Tucci, but I wasn't sure. So now I know.
It's just a cooler nickname.
It is cool, Tucci. It is a good one.
Yeah. And you, of course, prefer Lynn?
Yeah, I like Lynn, yeah.
Okay, nice. So what else you have planned for the weekend that you're down here?
Well, one of the fun things I'm doing is I'm taking an acting class.
Oh, really?
Well, I was a theater major at UCLA, and I always did theater, acting, mostly acting, and then directing. I got into directing plays, and I still direct plays. I haven't directed one since I moved north, but I got involved with the Raven Theater in Healdsburg, and they were doing a 24/7, which is one of those things where you have 24 hours to write, direct, and do a play. And I've done 3 of those in LA. I've done 2 as a director and 1 as a writer-director. So I called them at the last minute saying, hey, do you need any directors? And they said, no, but we need performers. And I haven't acted in a play for 10 years. But I said, I said, sure. And I had so much fun doing it. I was only concerned about memorizing lines because that's kind of hard. But I had so much fun, and I just was like filled with so much joy that I said, I'm going to sign up for an acting class. So I signed up with one of the top schools here, which is Spicer Sturgis. And I'm doing online acting classes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm doing it for fun, and it helps directing, and it's an outlet. It's not like I'm thinking I'm going to go be a famous actress or anything like that, but I like performing, so I'm going to, and it helps my writing and my directing too.
Yeah.
To act, So it's really fun.
That's really awesome. That's great.
Yeah, and then tomorrow I'm going to try to, I'm working tomorrow from my hotel room, but then I go back tomorrow night. So, but that's why I wanted to make sure I saw you, because I've been trying to do this interview and I was like, I didn't want to just do it like over the phone because I haven't seen you in a long time. I just wanted to sit face to face and talk with you, you know?
It's good to catch up. Yeah. And I think we can stop recording. But before we stop recording, I'm going to ask you 2 questions.
Okay.
So if you could go back, it was Hillsburg you said you grew up in, or
Mill Valley.
Mill Valley. So if you could go back to Mill Valley and get in time and give yourself any advice while you're growing up looking to get into entertainment, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, the first advice I would give myself is when I was young, I wanted to be an actor, a writer, and a director.
The trifecta, yeah.
The trifecta. So what I would tell myself is to focus more. I think I was put into driver's ed as a freshman by accident in high school, and so I didn't get into drama until I was about a junior. And I also got sidetracked from all that creative stuff I'd been doing as a kid and got into sports, which was great. But then I went to UCLA, and there were people that were further along than me, you know, and I felt like I was sort of getting back into it, right, when I started in college. So what I would do, knowing that that was what I really loved doing, is I would have focused on that and made sure that I, you know, really put the most of myself into college, maybe had a little less socializing and all that, but really focused on what my goal was. And then once I was in the industry, you know, I had always thought that I would go back to those things. And to a certain degree, I did go back to doing some writing and some directing between jobs. I didn't go back to acting. But I always thought, like, if I can get on a TV series and there's in a hiatus, then I can make my films or do my whatever during that time. But it didn't work like that. Most of my shows did not have a second season, and it was feast or famine with work. And then I quickly that fell by the wayside for a number of years, where I didn't even do anything with it. So, but my advice would have been to not lose that focus, like find a way to support myself, you know, let's say find another skill, a B skill, that I could do if I didn't have a job to support myself, so I could still be directing plays or acting in plays or whatever it was. Because I did for a number of years lose sight of why I came here.
That's really good. And then other last question is, who are some of your favorite authors or philosophers? Because I start every episode with
Oh, wow. I read a lot of books, and it's tried to think about favorite. Well, one thing I like as far as philosophers, I like the philosophy of Stoicism a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I like them because I don't consider myself to be really a practical person, although in my job I have to be very practical, but my nature is more kind of a dreamer and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the Stoics are really good, I think, as far as putting you on track with a lot of the advice, just kind of down to earth, practical advice of living in the world. And I like that.
And that is Season 3, Episode 8 of the Producers Lounge podcast. Thank you to my guest, Lynn Stevenson, for joining us. You can find out more about her by checking out the show notes and subscribing to our YouTube channel @GreaterGrander. Our intro and outro music today was Sideways Samba by Audionautics. Episode still image is provided by Lynn Stevenson. We'd love to hear from you, and you can check out the week's accompanying article on greaterandgrander.com entitled 10 Things You Can Do for 20 Minutes a Day to Get 30% Ahead in Life. Link in the show notes. You can stay up to date by following us on YouTube and social media at the handle GreaterGrander, all one word. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever fine podcasts are found. And also, if you like what we do, share this podcast with a friend who you think will enjoy it. Join us next week for more cocktails and questions, and until then, keep producing dreams.